Good show tonight.
That was fun.
I felt like it was really rolling.
That's a nice way to wrap the year.
I really enjoyed it. That was a lot of fun for me.
It took us a little while to warm up. We were starting off a little sloppy. Then we got it rolling pretty good.
Fuck, we spent 30 minutes going over 2018 whiskeys. I was like, we gotta go.
No, that was good. People like that conversation.
I can always tell when Kenny's like, I can see it in his eyes, like there's like a in his forehead, like when he's like, all right, we got it.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the last episode of Bourbon Pursuit before our 2018 Christmas holiday. And I'm going to make this a quick one because we've got kind of a long episode because it's the wrap up of 2018 and then are looking forward to the futures and predictions of bourbon in 2019 as well. On our barrel pick sides, we've got order forms now out for Four Roses and our Joseph Magnus barrels. So if you're a Patreon subscriber, you should have gotten the email if you were selected in the randomizer to go and buy. So please, you've got 72 hours from when I sent that email out to actually go and purchase, or you're going to lose your spot. So please go and do that. Lastly, I also want to say Merry Christmas to everybody that's out there. I know you've got probably a lot of driving ahead of you for the Christmas holidays, so hopefully you're tuning in. Take some bottles over to your family members, open them up, share them with family, share them with friends this holiday season. And if you can, turn them on to Bourbon Pursuit. Say, I listened to this podcast. It taught me a lot. And hopefully we're teaching you a lot. Maybe we're just not rambling a bunch of stuff. But please spread the word. Word of mouth is always the best way to kind of get good news out there. And speaking of good news and making this podcast even better, make sure you take the time, leave some reviews. That's what makes us better. When I get to hear the positive or negative and critical feedback from people, it actually makes the show a lot better. So please take the opportunity, not while you're driving, but when you have an opportunity to sit down at the desk and leave us a review. It goes an awful long way to help growing the show, helping our rankings, and keeping us the #1 podcast in bourbon. Now with that, enjoy this week's episode. Here's Fred Minnick with Above the Char.
I'm Fred Minnick, and this is Above the Char. So this has been kind of a weird week for me. We're leading into the holidays, and all the bourbon stuff has pretty much been written for the year. And I flat out had no ideas coming into this week's Above the Char. And although I routinely ask you all to give me ideas, I was running low on those requests in my inbox. So I did what any sane bourbon writer would do. I went to Twitter and asked a simple question. What should I talk about? And I had a lot of really good ones, like, 51% corn. Why do only some bourbons put sour mash on the label? And, basically what's that mean and why do they keep putting that on there? That's a good one that comes up quite a bit. In fact, everybody uses a sour mash technique. It just so happens that in the 1800s, if you saw sour mash on the label, that meant it was special and you could trust it and you wouldn't have any of those off-putting tastes, most likely. And then it became kind of a branding strategy, and you had about 5 different brands after Prohibition claiming to be the first sour mash. And like the curveball, where there's really 1 or 3 ways to throw a curveball, there's one dominant way to throw the curveball. And now there's basically one common language on all whiskey labels, and sour mash is among them. Another really good question I got was highlight a review from yours from 3 to 5 years ago. This comes from David Bolin, who also wanted to know the ones I'm keeping an eye on and what you all should be looking for next year. There was a review of a bourbon that I wrote, I think about 5 years ago. It was in 1776. I'm sorry, it wasn't their bourbon, it was their rye. It was their 1776 rye. It was like a 15-year-old. And this was kind of in that, they fell on that time of the source whiskey stories, and nobody really trusted anybody at this time. And really, we still don't. But I just remember that whiskey being so amazing. And it was one of the first ones where I started telling people, look, guys, don't be dismissing these bourbons and ryes just because there's a label issue. The whiskey's really good. And since then, we've seen this crazy phenomenon and love for the Lawrenceburg, Indiana distillery. And that leads me to the next question, or the next topic that was suggested to me by Bryant Roberts, and that is to encourage more people to taste blind. And I try to do that a lot. Now, sometimes I don't have the manpower to do that, and I have to, pour from the bottle and knowingly taste what I'm drinking. When I do that, I do my very best to remove any kind of subjective nature. But when you taste blind, you're removing all of your prejudices and all of the things that you think you might like going into the tasting. Like, I guarantee you, if you were to taste your average bourbon drinker a bottle of 15-year-old Pappy Van Winkle up against, I don't know, Smooth Ambler or Maker's Mark, I have a hard time believing that those people would consider Pappy to be that much better than the other two. And so when you're tasting blind, you're removing all of those prejudices. And if you are assessing the whiskey by itself, you're not looking into the price, you're not looking into the marketing, and you're certainly not going to be deceived by a backstory. So that's why I do my best to taste blind. And especially in competition or when I'm rating, that's very, very important. So that is a little rundown of some of the great questions I got on Twitter this week. I did get a lot of them, and I really appreciate all of your time for those 44 characters. Please keep them coming, as I do love answering questions on Twitter. But that's this week's Above the Char. Hit me up on Twitter or Instagram at Fred Minnick. Again, that's at Fred Minnick. Happy holidays. Cheers.
Do you ever pour yourself a bourbon, swirl it around, and then start struggling to come up with tasting notes? And perhaps you're also looking for a good Father's Day gift idea. Well, you can now solve both with a kit from Knows Your Bourbon. And unlike other nosing kits on the market, Knows Your Bourbon kits feature real ingredients for the most authentic aromas. You can smell real Tahitian vanilla bean instead of some synthetic aroma that's just made from chemicals. So head on over to knowsyourbourbon.com and enter code BP10 for 10% off your order.
Play Whiskey Wednesday Round 11, the memory game. Until June 26, each week you can win one of our 12 incredible grand prizes. Select $2 at checkout. And if they match on drawing night, you'll win that bottle. Not a match? No worries. You still score a Weller 12-year. Every $5 ticket gives you 5 chances to win, including 4 weekly bonus prizes. Get your tickets now at give270.org. Charitable Gaming License ORG 0002703.
Ed Bly and Rising Tide Spirits are back again with a new release of Old Stubborn Bourbon. And this release of Old Stubborn is a premium hand marriage of 10, 11, and 12-year cask strength, barely filtered pot still bourbon. It comes in at a staggering 123.8 proof. And the flavoring grain for this one, which the last one was wheated, but this time it's now rye. Rich, sweet, and bold with a long finish that's sure to be another eye-opener. You can order online at Sealbox or thebourbonconcierge.com. And you can even purchase in person at Revival Vintage Spirits, and even now with very few select stores in Kentucky. You can get it now while you can, but be sure to do it because it's not going to last long. From their bar to yours, Chad and Sarah of the popular YouTube channel It's Bourbon Night bring you their favorite at-home old-fashioned mix with the new Elemental Elixirs Golden Hour Syrup. It's a custom-made syrup with notes of bold black tea, warm spices, and orange zest. All you need is your favorite whiskey and ice. No bitters needed. One bottle makes 16 drinks, so that's only $1 a cocktail before you add your own whiskey. They can also be enjoyed in other cocktails or spirits, mocktails, coffee, tea, and anything you can think of. It's crafted locally in Lexington, Kentucky, and you can get your bottle now at whiskeyambitions.com. Always find what you love at Total Wine & More. With so many great bottles to choose from at the lowest price, it's easy to find your favorite Cabernet or a new single-barrel bourbon to try, with some help from one of their friendly guides. And with every bottle comes the confidence of knowing you just found something amazing. With the lowest prices for over 30 years, find what you love and love what you find only at Total Wine & More. Curbside pickup and delivery available in most areas. Visit TotalWine.com to learn more. Spirits not sold in Virginia and North Carolina. Drink responsibly and be 21.
Everyone, welcome back to the 27th recording of the Bourbon Community Roundtable. It's a fan favorite. It's a crowd favorite. We get the biggest bloggers that are in the realm, and we talk about random news that has happened. And this is going to be one of those special episodes that we do once a year. we do the roundtables once a month, but this is the one we do once a year as we look back in our year of bourbon. So we're going to look at some of the highlights of bourbon in 2018, and then we're going to start doing what everybody loves and start making predictions for 2019. And before we get started doing that, Fred, Ryan, welcome back to the last roundtable recording that we were going to have for 2018.
It's awesome.
We're so glad to be here. Yes, who would have thought if you'd asked me what would happen in 2018 last year, I would have whiffed hard because 2018 was crazy and a lot of great things happened to, I think, all of us. So excited to kind of recap and go over everything because a lot happened and party.
And this was also looking back just 2018 year in review. I mean, Fred joined the show. This is, I think, his third roundtable that he's been on. So how you liking the roundtable discussions and stuff so far, Fred?
It's a lot of fun for me. I'm a big sports fan, and this reminds me a little bit of Around the Horn, the way we do it. And we have a great cast of characters. I kind of agree with a lot of people who always say we should do more of them. I think it's a good, it's a lot of fun for me because I like talking shit on shit, and it's a good place to do it.
Yeah,
as soon as Kenny buys the buzzers where we can mute people and give out points, I'm in for 2 a month. Until then, no.
Do you guys watch Around the Horn? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, those guys are pretty smart, though. I don't know if we fit into that category. Those guys are pretty sharp.
Have you ever seen Woody Page?
Okay. Maybe they just bullshit the whole time.
Give them a little bit of credit. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it always blows me away, too, knowing that there's actually this much news that happens in bourbon, at least for us, every 3 weeks. But we could do this every 2 weeks for the amount of stuff that comes out, as well as the great questions that we get from our audience and listeners that are out there as well. But before we kick it off, we always want to go around the horn and kind of get our lay of the land of who's here. So, Blake, I'm going to go ahead and start with you since you're on my left.
Yeah, so my just regular introduction on this one, Blake from Bourbonr. You can find me at BOURBONR.com. I didn't know if we were jumping into our New Year's resolutions right away or whatever it's going to be. So no, you can find me at Bourbonr.com, Facebook group, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Starting to do about a bi-weekly Bourbonr Live show. So definitely check in this Wednesday. We're going to have a special guest. I'm gonna leave it a secret for now and maybe reveal that one a little bit later on this week's episode. But no, definitely check it out. And if you want to see any rules changed in the Bourbonr Facebook group, make sure to go vote now. We're working on that now. So far, we've had about 2 serious submissions for rule changes, and everything else has been a joke. So that's kind of sums up the group pretty well. Yeah.
Drop a joke.
Yeah. Guys, this is serious. I'm looking for change.
And if I'm your special guest, I haven't got my notice yet.
Yeah. Well, I said if you iron your shirt, we're definitely going to have you on. But
I just dug this out. I thought it was too good not to wear.
And Jordan, go ahead.
Sure. So this is Jordan, one of 3 guys from BreakingBourbon.com. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, all those good sites at Breaking Bourbon, and also sign up for our newsletter. And we do a near daily release calendar. So make sure you're getting in your last Christmas shopping by checking out the calendar.
And Carrie.
This is Carrie from Suburbia. I don't even know why I'm still here. I used to blog back in the day, and my accomplishments recently were that I played tennis last week and I did really well. And then I did good stuff at work. So I'm really excited about that. But if you want to check out my blog, it's SUBOURBIA.com. It's great stuff from a couple years ago. And I am hiring somebody to write for me. I have plenty of booze that I can pay you in and Bitcoin. So hit me up at Bourbon_gamer on Twitter.
Still keeping the Bitcoin dream alive.
I have no choice. Can't sell it.
So I think an easy way to kind of go in with no lube, and let's start talking about our favorite whiskey of the year.
Wait, what?
Oh, yeah.
What?
Is that a bad analogy?
Yeah. Go in with no lube? Oh, for God's sake, Kenny.
So nobody's heard that analogy before.
Yes, we have. But, I mean,
2018.
we have a family audience out there. My kid is actually probably watching this.
I try to play these shows when my kids or podcasts with my kids in the car. Now I got to turn them off because Kenny.
Listen,
My daughter
Kenny's
asked me
dropped
what
a couple
podcast
GDs in the last couple podcasts, so he's really getting with it with the cussing.
I'm trying to get up there with Joe Rogan, guys. We got to up our game a little bit.
Fair enough.
All right, Lube. Go on, Lube boy.
All right. So lube or no lube, but we're going to jump into our 2018 whiskey of the year. And somebody just put in the comments that says, I knew Kenny was a dry guy. Oh man. All right. We're gonna have to keep going here. All right, so we're going to really jump in and really talk about our 2018 whiskey of the year. And there's one that's already been out there. It's pretty well known, and that's Fred's. And so, Fred, I kind of want to let you to go first to kick this off because, you got a chance to try a lot more probably bourbons and whiskeys than we have. And you've got to do them all blind. You've been able to have the sort of lay of the land. You've already had your article published in Forbes. So kind of talk about yours.
So my American whiskey of the year was this barrel craft spirits release, the 15-year-old. So it's a new line that they have, kind of like a super premium, I guess. I don't know, but it's got a gray label. Yeah, I just call it the gray label because I can't really differentiate the barrel craft spirits and the barrel batches because they're pretty much they look the same to me text wise. But so I call it the gray label. But I've been very fortunate in being formerly Whiskey Advocate's lead reviewer until I started my own magazine and left. And then after I left there, Forbes recruited me to start doing reviews for them. And basically, a lot of people send me stuff. I buy a lot of stuff, and I had narrowed down, the top 15 whiskeys, American whiskeys, based on how I had personally rated them. Some of those ratings were published, some of them were not. There was a little bit of a gap from my reviews, but I was continuing to taste. And I also have an app coming out here pretty soon that has ratings in it. So I've been very active in my tasting. I think I've tasted like 600 this year. So, and written notes to them. So I had a pretty good database of things that, would be in the competition for me. And so I put 15 in there, had them blind tasted. I had a guy come in and pour them, and he swore to it, that he didn't, put them in any kind of order or anything like that. So I had no idea what I was tasting. He was present to make sure, that I didn't, cheat or anything like that, or go back and look. And I did the tasting live on Facebook and Instagram. And it was, lo and behold, number one. And number two was the William LaRue Weller from this year's Buffalo Trace Antique Collection. So this, for my blind tasting, won, Best American Whiskey. Now, with that said, I went back and tasted it several times, and I'm very proud to say it is affirmed. Like I really, really love this stuff. It's great whiskey, in my opinion.
I got a sample bottle myself. I tried it with Ryan. He came over, and we agree. It was pretty good. Yeah. It had a lot of those characteristics and a lot of really full flavored that really kind of hits a lot of the check boxes that many people are looking for when you're looking for a pretty good whiskey. The retail price is a little like geek, but I think it's something that might be deserving of it.
Yeah. And, when it comes to retail pricing, this is something that I have, for years I've struggled on this. And the bottom line is like the price, there are so many under $40 bourbons that I've ranked 88 to 93. And the best way that I can do this objectively is just to taste them, because I've scored things that were $300-$400 like in the 70s. So like a couple last year, the Parker's Heritage Collection got like a 77 and a 76 from me or something like that. And that's the same price point if I'm not mistaken. And so like, I don't know how to, in other than like my scores and like you just, whether you like them or not, the rating system is the only way I can say differentiated on price. But in terms of tasting, when you taste a blind, you don't know what the price is because it'll influence how you think about the taste.
Can I ask you what level of marzipan was in it?
This was a high marzipan. High. Now, the better question is, Ryan, did you taste marzipan?
My sample was so small, I can't remember.
And Kenny recently actually tasted marzipan in real life, right?
I did. I was in Seattle last week and went to this place called it's this Russian bakery that's right there on Pike Street, like Pyorshki or something like that. But anyway, they had these.
It's funny because they have it upstairs too, in at this Russian bakery for.
And lube.
We're gonna keep the loop jokes going. Is that what Jordy goes, oh boy. But yeah, it was. I mean, it's like an almond paste. It's pretty good stuff. But I kind of want to keep this conversation going. And Jordan, go ahead and kind of talk about Breaking Bourbon and kind of what you all
actually. So every year, it's been tradition on Breaking Bourbon. We do a favorites list, right? So our favorites list is the three of us each listing out our favorite bourbons or whiskeys that we've tasted this year. American whiskeys. Now, our favorites isn't necessarily our best of, right? It's just what really stood out from us. So I'm not going to really spoil anything. I will say I've had a number, because that's coming out next week. I will say I've had a number of really good whiskeys that stood out this year. I thought 2017, if you're at our best of list, was kind of a dry year, right? Nothing really popped out as much as other years. I think other years there's a lot more innovation, a lot more stuff that really stood out. 2017 was a low year, we all thought. Now, 2018, exact opposite, right? It's been really hard the last few weeks trying to whittle it down what my what my favorites were, just because there were so many good ones out there, right? So I don't want to say what's going to be on there, right? But some that did stand out, which may or may not be on the list, but like that Belle Meade Bourbon Cask Strength Reserve, right? I had zero expectations going into sampling this. Blew me away, full of flavor, right? Eric just cracked open a bottle of Jack Daniel's Heritage. Blew him away. Not like ones that we wouldn't assume, like the unassuming have suddenly been front and center. There's some great ones out there, right? The barrel stuff that's coming out that Fred had mentioned, really good. I thought Heaven Hill really knocked it out of the park with a lot of their releases this year, right? The Old Fitz release that came out this fall, super, super good. So all that'll be captured in the article. So I don't want to, I realize I'm teasing it right now, so I don't want to give it away, but it is what it is. But overall, 2018, really good year for whiskey, right? A really good year, I thought.
I gotta concur with you on that Jack Heritage barrel. That was my number 3 in the blind tasting, and it's phenomenal. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Surprisingly, I mean, if people are out there, they can see a bottle for $65, scoop it up. I don't think you're going to be disappointed in it whatsoever.
Yeah, Jack Daniel's, they get a lot of crap, but when they put that, I mean, they put a lot of effort into what they do. But that particular release was just so good.
Yeah, sure. I think they don't get enough credit because it is what it is. Everyone just assumes, oh, it's Jack Daniel's, it's all the same. But I've had some single barrels from them that are really good. And I keep wanting to slip them into a blind tasting somewhere because I think people would be surprised by that. But then, if promoting Jack Daniel's is like, in some people's minds, saying, you got to go try this new cheeseburger at McDonald's. You're going to love it. That's true. But at the end of the day, if it's good, it's good. If, I don't know, McDonald's bought grass-fed beef or something for a special release, it'd be a little different. But it's still hard to convince some people in their own mind that
McRib.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, people shit on the McRib, but damn, it's really good.
It hits the spot now and then, right?
Yeah. My toes swells after I eat the McRib. So
it's because you're eating toe.
Yeah.
Blake, go ahead. You go next.
Yeah. So I feel like I've missed some releases this year. Because for me, I didn't love the Parkers. I actually did like the 27-year-old, but I think that just gets ripped on him I'm still not convinced I got the same sample as everyone because what I got was really good. That one, I really enjoyed that. I think just because it was so surprising. And I love the Booker's 30th. I've had a chance to try that. And I think I put this on Facebook too. It's always hard when you take these press trips to come out and say, wow, this is actually really good, because the automatic reaction is, well, of course it's good. You're tasting with Fred no, and just sitting there, and you got a free trip out of it. But I thought it was really good. I thought that was great. I thought the Ezra's was a great release. If you talk about available, and then there were, I'm trying to think of which batch it was, but the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, I think it was this most recent one. I'd have to go back and look at samples, was really good. So I've got a few that are in contention with me. Or for me. And then, kind of the old faithful of the William LaRue Weller. I thought that was a really good showing in the antique collection this year. And kind of tasting through all 5 of those, that was almost head and shoulders above everything else. So I'd throw that one in there as well.
Okay. Kerry, what about you?
Man, I got to be kind of the naysayer in this whole thing. I really didn't think 2018 was that good of a year when it came to releases. I'm going back through the calendar because I forgot what we had this year. I know we had the 2 Old Fits releases plus the 14 year in the gift shop. I tried all 3 of those. I thought the first release, the 11 year, was terrible. I thought the 9 year was actually pretty decent, and the 14 year from the gift shop is, I don't know, it's kind of weird. It tastes like corn pudding to me. Which I don't dislike it, but it's like got that Heaven Hill kind of corny flavor to me. The Parker's was a letdown. The Old Forester birthday bourbon was terrible this year. I'm trying to go through the list of everything, and the 4 grain just tasted the same as last year's 4 grain, which was a step down from Seasoned Wood, which was also a step down from Cured Oak. I just don't think it was that great of a year. The CYPB at $40 was a decent pour, but people spending $220 on it, and of course they're always crazy when it comes to Weller. But I thought that one was okay. I would say honestly, of all the releases for the whole year, probably the Rip Van Winkle 10 year is probably my favorite thing that I've had this year. It's really, really good batch this year. The William LaRue Weller definitely was tops of the antique, which made me sad because I thought the Eagle Rare at 101 proof was going to be amazing. And I feel like it was good, but I don't think it was amazing. And then, maybe, I haven't had Booker's 30th yet. It hasn't hit Georgia. And there's some other things that I didn't get to try. I wasn't invited to go hang out with Booker and try this kind of stuff. I'm not in that crowd, but I'm
thinking write 3 articles a year.
Since Booker's dead, I don't think anybody here was invited to come hang out.
Sorry, the no that's.
Well, technically, I believe there is didn't Freddie have
That's
a
true. Yeah.
We didn't hang out with him either.
He's 3 months old, but I hope Jim is not asking you to hang out with him.
I will say I did like the Four Roses 130th this year. I thought it was a good batch. Thought it was better than the 16 and 17. Reminded me of the 2015.
That was a good batch. I'll include that in there.
That was tasty.
Yeah.
But I don't think anything blew me away from the
What
year.
about a store pick, Carrie? You like store picks?
I do like store picks, but to be honest, Eagle Rare store picks are my favorite, and I've just been drinking last year's. I loaded up when they said there would be no barrels, and I honestly, I've had a couple OWA store picks this year. I think they're garbage. They are nothing like the OWA store picks from a couple years ago. Garbage is, I use that sparingly, but they're just not very good. The stuff that's barreled now, the Blantons, I've had a couple store pick Blantons. None of them are good. I got one store pick Blantons from one of our buddies on Twitter, who it was, sent me his store's Blantons, and it was actually one of the best I've ever had. That actually might be one of my favorites of the year. Was
do you think more cynicism is growing into your reviews as you kind of broaden, you taste more and more, or it's really just the selections are getting worse?
I think it's both. I think I've been cynical. I've grown more cynical as everything has gotten crazier and dumber and more annoying. I've probably gotten more cynical, but at the same time, you try it against older stuff, and not even, we're not talking like 2010 or anything. I'm talking 2014.
Yeah.
You compare the stuff to, it's totally different. What about
non-limited edition releases, right? What about more of the stuff that's going to be out there every day? Was there anything that you tried that stood out to you?
The 1910 from Old Forester. I know it's lower proof than 1920. I thought that was a really good release.
You stole my thunder.
We killed that sample pretty quickly. I forgot about that one until just now. That was a pretty good kind of everyday release. I know everyone's had that Ezra barrel proof and they love it. I have not come across any in Atlanta. I kind of stopped running around the stores because I'm just tired of it. So just waiting for it to land somewhere local that I can pick it up. I've heard that's a really good one though.
I'll add a little caveat to my answer based on what Paul Burns put in the comments, which was the new riff. So as most know, I've been diving more into the craft spirits world as of recently, and New Riff has put out a lot of good stuff. So I think that's what has me more excited is some of these other distilleries putting out really good products, and it's those ones where you say, all right, this isn't good for craft, it's just good. And I've had several barrels from them that have fit into that category. So they're one that has me excited. Now to see what it'll do at 6 and 8 years old, I think will be really cool. But even now, I find it very, very rich, a lot of flavor, and pretty complex.
And New Riff is done really nice job.
Blake, I'm still convinced your New Riff pick, they accidentally put 8 years
that was delicious
in there. Like
that was
that's
delicious.
not a 4-year bourbon.
That was really good.
I'm pretty sure Larry Ebersold, single or individually blessed that one barrel.
Where is this barrel? When are you selling this barrel?
Hold on. Before we get too far, because you guys are killing everything I'm about to say over here. So I want to go before we keep going down this rabbit hole. So, I want to go first, and then I'll let Ryan go. So. I did think the Old Fitzgerald Bottled and Bond, the 9-year, the fall release was by far the best of the decanter releases that actually happened this year. I thought it was also just a pretty good whiskey. Was it the best? I don't know. I probably would still favor George T. Stagg over it. But, at the very end of the day, I was down there. I was just looking at my bottles, and I look at the bar, and I keep going back to barrel 14936, which was Blake's barrel that he chose. That is the seal box barrel that's up there. And I'm honestly, I'm amazed by it. It is one of the best single barrel picks that I've had in a long time. And I'm not just trying to pat his ego here and say this because, we're good friends, but it is a solid bourbon. It rivals our pick. I'll say that. It's okay. It might be a step ahead. I'll give him that. But it was just, it's just a fantastic whiskey. And I'm actually still amazed that they're still available right now on the website, because this was something when I know Ryan comes over and I have other people come over and they're like, oh, I don't know, like some 4-year-old whiskey. And then I make them try it and they're like, holy crap, it's got like butterscotch in it. Something that you wouldn't expect out of something that's only 4 years old. It was surprising and really good.
Oh, I gotta get my credit card. I'll be right back.
Which it was funny. They put and I think what made it stand out to me is, and we may have talked about this last time, but they put buttered toast, and basically they give you a list of barrels to try from, and they kind of have their tasting notes, and you say, all right, this one sounds good. And buttered toast just stood out to me. And I tasted it. I'm like, I don't know if that's buttered toast, but it's definitely like a butterscotch note, which was really, really interesting to see. So, and that's where, you get into the debate of where does bourbon hit its peak flavor? And we always kind of joke around when these labels say, well, we barrel it when it's at its peak flavor. I would have pulled this barrel too at 4 years old, because I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen in another 2-3 years. So it is interesting to see how some of these distilleries, and I think, they got a column still. That's they have their master distiller has a brewing background, so the fermentation's good. Goes to a column still, really clean, and then it's in a barrel. And 4 years, it just came out really well. So. Thank you for the kind words. I appreciate it. All this is being transcribed into a review that's going to go up tomorrow on Sealbox.
Yeah, I hate doing it because I don't like you that much, but it's a damn good
You
barrel.
are the person I don't want to compliment, but the bourbon was.
Hey Blake, do you use trash cans? Someone's asking.
It's actually never a topic we've talked about here, have we?
No.
Moving on.
Yeah.
And before we get into trash can blending, I want Ryan to go.
Okay, so now that there's none left to talk about, I'm going to go with Brown Foreman as my two, surprisingly, because I usually do not like Brown Foreman products, but I really like the President's Choice this year. I thought it was fantastic. I think the first one was really good, and then the one that Jackie gave to us when we recorded, thought it was awesome, barrel proof, awesome juice. And then the 1910 for me is a home run. Usually I love barrel proof stuff, but at 94 proof, it has a ton of flavor, ton of complexity to it. Reminds me of an older whiskey. I was just really excited about that because you just don't see that anymore. A lot of stuff at 94 proof just doesn't have that kind of flavor.
Good deal. So before we go on to the next subject, there's just kind of want to do some shout outs for some other ones that weren't on here. There was a lot of stuff for Boone County releases, which are a lot of MGP stuff, which I also heard they're under they've got less than 6 barrels of MGP remaining. So it's gonna be interesting 2019 for them.
They've got more than 6 barrels left.
All right, so they've got 8.
No, they've got they're losing barrels because everyone's picking them, but they've got more than they would have, let's basically put it this way, that, they would have more barrels than Blake probably has right now. How many barrels you got right now, Blake?
In my house or in
on Steelbox? They're in the
12
dozens.
or so. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, anyway, before we get too far, there was some other shout outs for Four Roses 130th, as well as Little Book Volume 2.
No, not good.
It's everybody's different.
Everyone's got their opinion. Yeah, no, that's the great thing about tasting is everyone has their opinion, and sometimes I suck to those people, and that's fine.
So before we go on, I also want to start talking about, we talked about whiskey of the year for a lot of us. 2018 was a great year for pretty much everyone right here. Everybody has started elevating, figuring out new ways to kind of diverge and grow platforms, grow audiences and everything like that. So I kind of want everybody to kind of take a second. Let's not go as long as winded as I thought we were going to do on just 2018 whiskey of the year, but kind of talk about, one big accomplishment that you achieved in 2018. Carrie, you want to go first?
Sure, man. No, let me go last.
Okay, then
I'll go first. Can we go first?
Sure. Blake,
is it whiskey related? Because I brought 2 new children into the world. Does that count? Is that
pretty solid?
Yeah,
yes. And I'm kind of one of those guys who will sit down at the beginning of the year and write out a few goals and, kind of see how I check off. And some of them I hit, some of them I don't hit. And one of the big ones was just kind of expanding the Bourbonr Facebook group to a manageable level. And I think, while it is somewhat crazy, it still works. And the reason for that is just expanding the platform and expanding kind of the brand of Bourbonr. So that's been good to see. And then a big thing was for launching Sealbox. And I got that done in July. So was really happy about that. So, it's fun to see a lot of hours in work and something actually come together. That is always exciting. No matter the headaches and frustration, it is cool to see something that you work really hard on to actually go live. So that was a big one for me.
Awesome.
Cool.
Fred, you want to go to the next?
Yeah, I think probably for me, the easiest one would be this is a dream come true. Creating a magazine that, I think preserves and, celebrates bourbon in a way that I think everybody can enjoy has always been a dream of mine. And tied to that is my Amazon Prime show, Bourbon Up. which a new episode will be dropping here pretty soon. So that's probably it for me, like being editor-in-chief and founder and owner of a magazine that I think will really, be appreciated by listeners out there. It's something I've always wanted to do.
Fred, what does that look like from idea to first edition? I mean, was this idea starting to come together 2015, 2016, and then you finally make it, or?
Actually, I think everyone knows that I was, everybody's whiskey, major whiskey writer or bourbon writer for a lot of these magazines. And, I wrote for everyone from the New York Times, the Scientific American, but my core has always been Whiskey Magazine and Whiskey Advocate. And things just started changing. And I realized that I could not really influence much anymore. And I needed to make a change. That really started probably 2-3 years ago. And I just didn't know how it would come about. Like, this is one where, it takes a lot of work, a lot of money to get a magazine off the ground. And I've had offers before, but it would be like putting out, a turd in front of a IHOP. And that's nothing I ever wanted to do. Those free, get a free magazine. I always wanted something that would be of high quality. And I've been writing for this magazine called Covey Rise for a long time. And it just so happened he was looking to grow. At the same time, I was looking to make a move. And we kind of came up with the idea of doing a bourbon magazine. And it's been a great partnership. Right now, we're in all the Whole Foods in the country, and Kroger, and some other grocery chains like Sprout and Earth Fare and Barnes & Noble and Books A Million. So we have a really incredible penetration into the newsstand space, and we're only one issue in. Second issue mails really right now, I think, right in the next couple of days.
Well, awesome. Congrats on all that. Jordan, you want to go next?
Yeah. So 2018 was a good year for us, right? Like you guys, we launched our own barrel picks, and like many did on Patreon. But I think more importantly, it was a super humbling year for the three of us at Breaking Bourbon. So we've been doing this. This is just something we do for fun, as everyone else is doing their thing too. And 2018 solidified us as the largest bourbon website on the internet. And we are now,
awesome.
So we're also now the fourth going into third largest whiskey website worldwide, which, considering we only focus on bourbon and American whiskey.
Hold on, who do you got to take to get there?
It's pretty. I'm not gonna name names, so I'll send you guys the list later. So it's pretty humbling. So we're gonna end the year just shy of 2 million unique people visiting the site. Hopefully, we'll continue to double it next year. But just being able to, we're just three average guys who love whiskey.
Are you all ever thinking about doing it full time? Because you do a great job at it.
We it'd be great to do full time. I'm not sure if it would be able to take over our day jobs, Fred. But if we ever have the opportunity to do something like that, I think that'd be awesome. But in the meantime,
because you like make real money, you don't like make bourbon writing money. You like make real money. Real life.
Yeah, we all have day jobs that are quite different, quite different than Breaking Bourbon. But that being said, Breaking Bourbon, it's a true passion project that turned into more than that. And it's just been a super humbling year. And, we just thank everyone who's visited the site this year and who writes in and, tells us criticism, tells us praise. We take it all. We just love it. So
what I love about what you guys do is you're so methodic in what your writing and your research. It's always reminded me of like a lot of my research, but also like a guy named Michael Jackson, who was a brilliant whiskey writer before most of us got into it. But so you guys do great work, and I'm just so glad to hear you guys are climbing those charts. It's awesome.
Yeah, and it's been fun. It's been, more importantly, it's just been an awesome time to be part of this group too, right? I think everyone on this community roundtable, we've all seen each other grow and supported each other, and that's been, honestly, the most exciting thing for all of us to see, right? And we've all now got to meet in person, and it's just been a blast. 2018 was a blast for all of us individually, but more so for the community roundtable. It's been awesome.
Gonna get over. Everybody's tearing up around here.
Is this our last roundtable of 2018? I guess it is.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it is. All right. So, Carrie, you brainstormed. You got something for us?
Yeah, I think my biggest accomplishment was staying friends with you guys and writing. And I'm serious. Like 2018 was a chill year for me. I mean, I'm super busy, and work's been busy, and the kids, always have activities, and I wish I could write more. I don't really enjoy writing. I enjoy reading my articles after I've written it, but
it's self-fulfilling, isn't it?
It's kind of self-fulfilling. And I think getting to know all of you guys a little bit more, getting to know Fred and staying on this podcast, probably, my biggest achievement is setting myself up for a lot better year next year. I think there's a lot of things that I can do to grow the brand and to put more stuff out in the blog and just kind of be more out there, get to know you guys a little bit better. And
if I have some recommendation for you, Carrie, it would be to find you. So you don't like writing. Okay. That's, that is, it doesn't come easy for everybody, but find what you do love and find and if there's something that you like write about, don't write like everybody else, write like how you like to write. And, the Breaking Bourbon boys, they found their voice. Blake found his. I'm still searching for mine, man. It's a never ending pursuit. I would call it a bourbon pursuit.
We're gonna.
Can we sign off now? That's perfect.
All right. Good night, everyone. Carrie, as my senior English teacher told me, Blake, you have a great you have a hard time taking ideas from up here and putting them on paper. You have good ideas, but it's just that transition onto the paper where you have
great ideas.
I'm not sure if that's a compliment or you're like really disrespecting me right now, but I'll take it.
With Fred, it looks like we're adding another extension to our brand, Bourbon Writing Consulting, for everyone else. So if you need help, Fred is at charge at $100 an hour or maybe more.
I'm absolutely free. Just ask Brian.
Yeah.
I help every writer. Every writer that comes to me, I try to help them.
I still think Blake and I, like Bourbonr Suburbia, would be a fantastic brand.
Bourboner.
Bourbonia.
We should, even though Brian's not here, we should probably give him a plug. Speaking of, as Fred said, so it's been a huge year for Sip and Corn, right? He released his first book. So if you guys haven't had a chance to read it, right, go out and grab a copy. Bourbon Justice. It's really good.
Brilliant.
Huge kudos to him.
Thank you for doing that as well. Ryan, go ahead on your end.
Well, I'm not one to sit and boast, or I don't like to talk, but I mean, 2018 has been crazy. Like I'm sitting here looking at my goals in Evernote, and like a lot of them I didn't accomplish, but I accomplished a lot of things that I didn't set out to. So like, don't talk on your phone when you're watching the kids. That didn't happen. But no, it's seriously, this right here, Pursuit series, has been like just a humbling, amazing dream come true, coming from, growing up around bourbon and having the opportunity to create our own brand and label and sourcing whiskey with Kenny. It's been one of the most like enjoyable experiences I've been a part of. And it's something that's like reignited me and given me so much passion for this industry and really helped me understand how everything works. And now I'm just like so enthralled to be a part of this and so grateful and thankful. You can see it on my face probably, but it's just been so great. And I'm so thankful for this community to allow us to give us that opportunity. So
absolutely second that one. And from my side, the growth of the show in 2018 has been phenomenal. Adding Fred to the show has been a huge plus to that as well. And not only that is, we've talked about it before. Patreon is really what is helping continue to grow this show to the point where it was probably a year and a half ago, something like that. I had a discussion with Ryan. I was about ready to hang it all up and quit the podcast because we just didn't have the motivation. Wasn't there? There wasn't something that was really driving it. And honestly, there's just so much work that goes in behind the scenes that it kind of goes unnoticed sometimes if you're not doing this. And so that's when somebody said, you should probably start a Patreon thing. And I was like, okay, well, we'll see what happens. It's grown and grown and grown. And to the point where we have hit our milestone as the past few weeks that we're now over $5,000 a month through our Patreon community. And what that is doing for me is it's now allowing, I kind of said it already, the Patreon community, but now to everybody else. So my wife is what you've all known for a long time is she's been working at Heaven Hill, but now she is quitting her job at Heaven Hill and going to be working on the podcast full time starting January 4th.
Wow.
And thank you. And honestly, what this means to me and my family.
Heaven Hill in there.
No, don't like that.
I'm kidding. Yeah,
but report to.
But what honestly it means for me, it means a better family life. It means that I can offload a lot of the work that we've been taking on for the past 2 years. In regards of, I mean, we don't put out near as much social media as we probably could, and as well as trying to always keep batch processing emails that come in. It's a lot of time that's involved, and I'm glad that I can bring on somebody. And also, one thing that everybody should know is that she's actually very talented. She's the one who taught me how to do all the video editing, and she did even the intro with the graphics and everything like that. So she knows what she's doing. She's going to do it way better than I ever can. So expect a lot more good things to come in 2019
Kenny,
just from the show.
I think I just tell you, like, coming in, it's been an honor, and just observing your professionalism and like how you run, this podcast. You treat it like a business, and you have a loyalty to the Bourbon Geek that's unwavering. And I got to tell you, it's been a true pleasure, seeing you in action. So I hate to see you lose the crown of being the boss now, and your wife coming in.
Well, she might be your boss now too. Who knows?
Now, speaking of that, Kenny, what's the sexual harassment policy looking like for Bourbon Pursuit? How's she?
It's. Or is this going back to the original how we started this, the loop or no loop discussion? But let's go ahead, because I know we're running low on time, and I really want to start getting into our 2019 predictions. But just some other things to kind of wrap up 2018. Vintage spirits law went into effect in Kentucky. There were some other minor changes that happened. We, as the community Bourbon Community Roundtable, actually picked our first barrel together, Buffalo Trace. And in 2019, we've got another one coming as well. More news on that to come. Long Branch made its Wild Turkey debut with Matthew McConaughey. Let's see. Brian of Sippin' Corn won his case with Castle and Key against Sazerac. That was a pretty monumental thing as well. And now we can start talking about 2019. And so Blake had already hinted at it before, and this will just kind of be a fun one before we go into it. Going into 2018, he had banned Crotchshots in the Bourbonr group, as well as he had also banned no sealed bottle shots. Now as he had mentioned earlier, he's looking for the next great suggestion to improve the group for 2019. So you had mentioned there were two. So what are those two that are kind of standouts right now?
If you're anything like me, then you can't get enough about bourbon. And that's why I'm a subscriber to Bourbon Plus magazine. Bourbon Plus is a quarterly publication that tells the stories from the heart of bourbon, the farmers who grow the grain, the distillers who labor over the process, and the people like you and me who raise their glasses to celebrate it all. Subscribe to Bourbon Plus magazine today at bourbonplus.com, that's PLUS.com, and use code PURSUIT at checkout for $5 off your subscription. Shopify's already taken the cash register online, helping millions sell billions around the world. But did you know that Shopify can do the same thing at your retail store? Give your point-of-sale system a serious upgrade with Shopify. Shopify's point-of-sale is your command center for your retail store. From accepting payments to managing inventory, Shopify has everything you need to sell in person. And with Shopify, you get a powerhouse selling partner that effortlessly unites your in-person and online sales into one source of truth. Track every sale across your business in one place and know exactly what's in stock. Connect with customers in-line and online. Shopify helps you drive store traffic with plug-and-play tools built for marketing campaigns, from TikTok to Instagram and beyond. And get hardware that fits your business. Take payments by smartphone. Transform your tablet into a point-of-sale system, or use Shopify's point-of-sale Go mobile device for a battle-tested solution. Plus, Shopify's award-winning 24/7 help is there to support your success every step of the way. Do retail right with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/bourbon, all lowercase, and go to shopify.com/bourbon to take your retail business to the next level today. Shopify.com/bourbon.
Now as he had mentioned earlier, he's looking for the next great suggestion to improve the group for 2019? So you had mentioned there were two. So what are those two that are kind of standouts right now?
No, I think the two that will probably come back are just like dusty pictures. Like, hey, how old is this? We found this. What is it? Kind of deal. The problem is it can become a slippery slope of somebody just post a picture from the 80s and says, "I found this at my granddad's." Then it turns into people trying to buy and sell. So that's what we don't want. But there's a lot of information that comes out when you post a picture of an old bottle and say, does anybody have any information on this? And, you get a lot of good things going on with like, yeah, look for the tax stamp, look on the bottom of the bottle, where was it bottled? Was it Louisville? Was it Frankfurt? All this kind of stuff. So that was a big one. And then, I'm going to have to go look at it. I don't remember what the other one was.
Okay, what was it? What was a ridiculous one?
Oh, geez. It's like anything Crotchshot related, or one was banning all Gator fans. One was banning all Bulldog fans. There's it got amount of hate for people who just walk into a store, take a picture of the shelf and say, what should I buy? And I get it, from both sides because we've all been there. I've talked about this before, but it's why I like taking on new things like rum or brandies and stuff, because you just don't know. You walk into a store and you have no clue what any of these brands are. So, you understand thinking, yeah, I want to know what's good. But at the same time, you don't want, there's a search feature on the Bourbonr Facebook group. So if you see a brand, you can search for it. The number one thing to ban is anyone or anybody who asks, anyone know what this is worth? That should be an automatic ban. Any political post that
it's annoying.
Yeah. And that's the thing is so much of it gets through and there's three of us constantly checking the feed to see what is on there. So a lot of that kind of stuff. But the main thing is, you want the group to be informational and to kind of invoke discussion, but at the same time, you don't want it to go overboard where it turns into fights or people trying to sell, because that's not what the group's about. So it's just about finding that mix.
Absolutely. So another one, just to kind of keep this rolling a little bit, towards the end of 2018, there was a lot of announcements for expansion. There was Kentucky Owl Park, there was Heaven Hill, I believe. Was it somebody that had another one last week?
Bullet, Diageo?
Yeah, something like that.
The new Bullet, right?
Yep. Now, is this just end of year spending? People are like, all right, we got to get on the books. Do we see any more possible expansions happen in 2019? Because it seemed like it was all the majors that were announcing this.
I think there's always a possibility that you can see Maker's Mark making an expansion. Maker's is they're on fire everywhere. I was very fortunate to be on their Top Chef episode, but I think that's going to pay huge dividends for them because they're going to be everywhere in this season. I got to tell you, that is a brand that could make the leap to be the number one selling, American whiskey in the next 25, 50 years, so I would say, look at them. Somebody, like a nice mid-tier brand like Smooth Ambler is one that's, doing well on the trade that you could see, expanding a little bit. It wouldn't be a lot, but a lot of these expansions are just, it's a warehouse, it's a bottling line. I think we need to qualify what, a big expansion is, because to me, a big one is when a still comes in. The bottling lines, the warehouses, those are interesting, but that doesn't move the needle for me. What moves the needle for me are proof gallons. Proof gallons is basically that's your entry everywhere, because here's another. Sorry, I'm just talking, but there's a lot of warehouse capacity in the state. So you have a lot of like aging. We know about contract distilling. There's a lot of contract aging, and so there's not a lot of need for building warehouses because you have a lot of contract aging, capacity in the state. And so I think that we'll see fewer warehouses being built and more stills fermenters being put in.
Where that's where you see somebody like a Bardstown Bourbon Company, who I think they basically quadrupled in size from a proof gallon standpoint within the first 2 years. And maybe the same thing could happen with like a Castle and Key or even a Rabbit Hole or a New Riff, who they're kind of.
I could see New Riff. Yeah,
absolutely. I don't want to. I'll spoil the post I'm working on a little bit, but kind of like that third wave of coffee roasters. You had first it was all Folgers, then you had these just small. Then you had like the Starbucks who were kind of taking the craft, and then you had these smaller brands that come along, but making a pretty big dent in the game. So in whiskey in general is kind of seeing the same thing. You had the big six, whatever it was, distilleries who were making the majority of it. And then you'd have the guy with the pot still. Now we're kind of seeing some pretty major players popping into the game, like Rabbit Hole, New Riff, Bardstown Bourbon Company, Smooth Amblers even pumping out, Wyoming Whiskey's pumping out a lot of whiskey. They're making a dent. It's not like they're going to sell 2,000 cases a year and that'll be a good year. They're really cranking out some barrels. So it's interesting to see. Yep.
So are you saying Rabbit Hole is your guest coming up, Blake?
That would be a great one. Can I get them on? I don't know. I got rained out, so I only got to meet. What's his name?
Cave.
His name. Cave. I got to meet him for like 5 minutes backstage at Bourbon and Beyond because we got. But no, I'd love to have him on. So
that's Rabbit Hole is an interesting brand, in that they built their distillery, in my opinion, for capacity. It's a gorgeous distillery. It's very urban. You have a nice event space. But you could basically duplicate, the production side on their event space side. So when they are ready to expand, they can build a second distillery essentially right there in the space.
Yeah, which is smart. I mean, I think that just sets them up for future success. So
I can't drink anymore.
Well, and the other thing is you were mentioning about growth. We'll see what happens with the JW Rutledge distillery that kind of had the announcement as well, where it's going to be a lot of probably the same thing of contract distillation. But the other side of this is the consumer side. And this is the side that means the most because it is the ones that are out there shelling out the money to go and buy these bourbons on the shelf. So we continually see prices increase just a little year after year after year. I'm assuming that we're probably going to see the same trend happen in 2019. Four Roses has announced that their private select barrel program is going to have increases starting January 1st. Does anybody see this not happening anywhere?
I think you see it happening everywhere. So then when releases come out like that Ezra barrel proof, right? Or the whatever is proofed out, right? You start noticing them a little bit more, right? It's a good value then. So now all of a sudden, so we always go through this on the site. So we always have a value section where it's like, why are we doing value now still? Everything's going up in price. You're doing the same thing. And then we realize, when there is an actual good value, it does give something to talk about. So I think we're going to see it continuously go up. But I think the ones that actually start being consumer conscious when they pick a price point are going to see themselves rewarded very well. Right? It may not be the best whiskey out there, but if you're one of the few playing that price ranges and you're okay, I think you're going to be rewarded.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think there's so much damn bourbon coming. You guys are talking Rabbit Hole and every other distiller and expansion and more bourbon. At what point do we just run out of space to buy more bourbon? And I am freaking out. I need a storage warehouse now. You're talking about
to that point, the distillers have been putting a lot of focus on the international markets, and they got kind of hamstrung a little bit with the tariffs, and you've seen craft distillers be immediately affected by that. So now, like Europe the European distributors will no longer have conversations with American craft bourbons unless it's something like, I would say New Riff, which New Riff kind of stands out a little bit more, maybe Rabbit Hole. But the ones that are outside of Kentucky, they're not going to be getting those conversations with European distillers with a 25% tariff on them.
Now, you think just because what the price point will have to be on the shelf, or just in general, that's too much of a hassle to deal with?
It's quality times price point equal pi.
Divided by
over pound. What are the euro over euro? So that's the that's the equation they're using there.
Are we still on 2019 goals, or did we pass that by? Trying to catch up here.
Hey, but you know what, Carrie? You're exactly right. There is so much fucking shit out there.
Yeah.
Like, when is the limit? When will the people stop consuming?
You also have to realize, Carrie, right? The group that's watching this and us on this don't have much pity if you're saying you're running out of space for bourbon. Like, all of us are running out of space for bourbon.
That's what I'm saying.
Right?
The people listening, we all are collectors and hoarders, and we've got so much bourbon, and really it's about us, right? We do this podcast for us and the people who are into bourbon like we are, for all the bourbon lovers out there. So really, I mean, we talk about New Riff and all the expansion and all that, but we don't care about the people who are just buying the Jim Beam white label off the shelf, who might switch.
Of course we do.
I definitely care about those folks, just to be clear.
I love those people. They're not buying vodka. Come on, man.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how many people will make that quick jump from, hey, I'm already drinking this Jim Beam White or whatever it is. They just know it as bourbon. What comes with the cool story next? And they make that jump pretty quick.
Can I explain why I like those people? Because they are the ones who lined up this morning at 9 a.m. on a Monday morning to buy a barrel of Blanton's at a local store. That we had pictures in our local group and said, this is for a barrel of Blanton's. The line was around the building. That is why I don't like that particular subset. Because everyone else,
we were all there.
I never waited in line for that.
Listen, Carrie, listen, you gotta get the judgmental stuff out of your head and let people spend their money how they want.
That's my niche.
Well, no, you can have that niche, but not when it comes to the consumer. Let them be lit. Don't judge those guys. Judge the distillers.
What do I care about the consumer?
But we were all there. The whole we have to help everyone who starts, no matter what level of the journey.
If someone asks me for help, I will absolutely help and offer advice instead of the person who
Carrie, what you are?
Instead of the person who puts the Blantons that they just bought online.
You're the fucking Barstool Sports guy. Carrie, call the Barstool Sports guy. You're that guy.
You get me? I think the best thing for me in 2018 was somebody asked if I would admin a really large unnamed group on Facebook that deals with secondary market. And it is just a great release for me. I mean, it's exactly what I needed this year. And there is a difference between the person who wants to know more about bourbon and wants to share and open their bottles, and the people who hear about people, flipping Blantons. So they go wait in line and then they post it online and flip it.
That's a whole different group of people that you're talking about there, right?
That's who I was focusing on.
So if you're focusing on like people who are just flipping and everyday stuff, that's fine. You can rant about that. But just focusing on folks who may drink like introductory bourbons, that's we got to draw the line there a little bit.
Okay.
Fine. Yeah, in fairness, Carrie can like bitch about whatever he wants, and I think he's got a place here. He's like the Barstool Sports guy, and you should own that, man. If you're looking for your place, maybe that's it. You just fucking bitch about everything. Bitch about yourself, though.
I'm cynical as shit. I mean, I get it. I guess I see the negative all the time in this hobby.
Just do not fuck with the Lexington pizza place. If you do that, you're fucked.
Why would I go to Lexington?
Did he?
The Goodfellas.
The Barstool
Sports thing? Yeah.
Oh, he went to like the worst pizza place in Jacksonville too, and just ranted on how bad it was. I'm like, well, yeah, I've lived in Jacksonville my whole life. I've never heard of that place.
I mean, this guy he just went in there and said, oh my God, just worst pizza ever, bro. He's a bro dude, but.
Can we get back to bourbon? We can talk about pizza later. All right. So we talked about prices. One thing that also happened in 2018 was Fred kind of screwed everybody that knew about Henry McKenna, calling it the best value in bourbon. And he called it the best He won the San Francisco Spirits Competition 2018. And we all kind of know what happened there. It's probably, as just Carrie said, people were buying it as soon as it hits the shelves. It's kind of flying off. But I don't think this is in the same limited, or maybe even, I guess we could all say we all have theories of, I guess creating a limited scarcity. We've all said that Sazerac might be doing that, but I don't really see that happening with Heaven Hill. Do we think that the Henry McKenna fad might pass in 2019, and perhaps we'll start seeing it regularly on the shelves again?
It's all over Atlanta.
I've already started to see it on the shelves.
It's never left PA. It's been all over PA. To raise the price a little bit. But
so Kentucky's a little bit of a different animal than everybody else.
Different animal. You know what I think it is? I think it's always going to be a popular bourbon that everyone talks about, as everyone else is dropping age statements, right, and rising in price. And right, kind of still really affordable, and it still carries a 10-year age statement.
It's a great bourbon. It's a fantastic bourbon. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But all those people buying that Beam White Label, they're like, what's next? And then they're like, oh, you should buy Henry McKenna because it's going out of stock. And then everybody goes and buys Henry McKenna, and then they sell it for $50 online.
You know what? Taste Beam White Label up against the craft bourbons and then the rapidly aged stuff. Like I've done that before. It wins every time. And then throw a Woodford Reserve in there too, and it'll still win. It's amazing. It's amazing how well Beam White Label will do in a blind competition with like just everyday bourbons. Like it does really well. So play around with that a little bit.
Private barrels?
Sure. Yeah, they'll do a private barrel, but they put it under a different label, give it maybe another, year or two. They're pushing the Knob Creek private barrels more.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't get a Beam private barrel.
Oh, Fred can though.
Yeah, Fred.
What's that?
I think Fred, you can though for us.
Did you say you can or can't get a Beam?
No, you can't. You can. You just gotta ask for it.
Oh, I'd do that.
Yeah, I'd love to.
It'd be an interesting one.
You have to be on Top Chef to do that.
Can anybody call Tom?
All right, and so our last kind of topic when it comes to 2019 predictions is going to kind of be focused around Heaven Hill a little bit. Denny Potter, longtime master distiller, was actually prior at Maker. He was at Maker's Mark prior, came to Heaven Hill, master distiller there, left Heaven Hill, and is now at Maker's Mark. So I guess the question is, I think that Heaven Hill will find a new master distiller at some point. But the question really becomes is it really an issue if they find one? Because at this point, it seems that production hasn't really stopped because of not having a master distiller. It's probably more of just having the marketing person behind it. So I would kind of want to get your all's thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, the marketing department probably wants one ASAP. But as far as production, I mean, we've been there, Kenny. I mean, hell, they're pumping along just fine. Denny Potter wasn't there. They got systems in place, processes in place. A company and a distiller like that, it's, plug in, replace, plug in, replace. Everybody's replaceable in that. A master distiller is more just a figurehead. But I think it's a little bit concerning just from being kind of in Bardstown and knowing people. Like, it's weird. 3 or 4 years ago, like everybody was leaving Makers and Jim Beam to go to Heaven Hill, and now everybody's leaving Heaven Hill to go to Jim Beam and Makers, and it's weird how that's kind of like evolved. And so I'm not really sure what's going on. Is it because Centauri is now, after the strikes and everything, they're putting more value on employees and giving them more benefits or something? But it's kind of interesting how that's kind of played out.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think in the short term it's a big detriment, but in the long term, I think you kind of need that kind of that figurehead. We talk about like what is the actual role of a master distiller from a production standpoint. They don't stop the stills tomorrow because Denny Potter's not there. So that keeps rolling. But from just, moving the engine forward, I think you need that person there who can be charismatic, who can talk about the product, who can understand the entire production method around it, who can go to tasting, who can shake hands, who can jump on podcast, that kind of stuff. And really be liaison for the brand. I think the master distiller role is important, but the bourbon doesn't stop production because they're not there.
Yeah, and I think what Ryan said is very true, right? And I'm sure the marketing department very much, especially in today's day and age, right? You have to look at the role of the master distiller over the last, few decades. And, it used to be a badge distinction and really one earned. And now it's more, who's your master distiller, right? And it doesn't matter if they have 5 years experience or 50 years experience, you're going to have a master distiller someplace, right? And so, yeah, you need one, right? Just because everyone else has one, and you just need to compete and just need to market for those folks who are just getting into bourbon, right? And they just, hey, who's the master distiller? Oh, that person. Okay. Oh, you don't have one? Ooh, that must be a bad thing. They don't quite understand the history right behind that. So, will it stop production? No, not at all. Will it, stop the marketing game? Yeah, they really want someone there, right? And they want someone promoting it. Exactly what Blake just said. They're a figurehead. They're a very smart, well-talented figurehead, but they're a figurehead at the end of the day. And that's the way it should be, right? The machine behind the figurehead should always keep running no matter what. But you still need that person to get out there for the media and for the publicity and for the marketing to be that name, face of the brand.
Yep. Well, with that, does anybody else have any other 2019 predictions they would like to put out there? And we're going to come back at the end of 2019, and we'll see if any of them actually come to fruition.
I wrote down a couple of my goals for 2019. Number one, I'm going to finally meet you guys.
Is that a goal or a prediction?
I don't know which it falls into. It's more of a wish list. Definitely try to grow my brand. But I'll tell you what I'm actually really interested in. There's a lull that happens from probably January till spring when bourbon takes a dip, right? It always does. There's not a whole lot of releases. I don't know why bourbon distilleries don't release more in that time frame, but we typically have a dip. And you find that it kind of affects the secondary market. And every year I feel like there has been a bigger dip in that time frame. So I'm kind of hoping to see maybe the craze, and I don't mean the people who are into bourbon, but just the craze for the flippers starts to die down a little bit. And we can go back to more affordable pricing for the stuff that's old and the stuff that's rare. Kenny's shaking his head. He says it's never going to happen.
Ain't going to happen. No, it's just the nature of what this economy brings as more people get into it. And I mean, you can see it here in Louisville, and I'm sure you see it in Atlanta too. As more and more people get into bourbon, even limited releases are getting harder and harder to find, which means it's just going to keep driving the price up more and more and more. Especially when it comes to value trades that people like you and I have acquired over years. And we can say, I really don't need this old rip of 2010. Sure, I'll trade it for a Booker's, whatever that comes out. That's just one of the things. Like the value at that point doesn't really mean as much to us anymore. And we'll just trade it off.
So do we think it's a constant growing bubble that will never, ever break?
I mean, if you look at something, maybe I need to TM it, but if you look at the Pappy Index and how that's creeped up every single year, I mean, let's just rewind the clocks back 3 years, maybe even 2 years. Old Rip Van Winkle on secondary is 300. Now it's at 425.
That's like a year.
Yeah, and it hasn't. It's not stopping. So I don't see the train slowing down anytime soon.
I think my prediction, rock stars, the industry, while they used to be master distillers and they're still really big, it's now more of a rock star if you're a owner of a liquor store. So it used to be a big deal if you had a master distiller in your phone and you could text them and talk to them. Now it's, who do you know who can help actually get you those limited releases, right? So that's what I think consumers are more excited about, which goes back to Kenny's point. The bubble's not slowing down anytime soon, right? When you're excited because you made good friends with a liquor store owner who may be able to hook you up, that's when things are even going more gangbusters than before.
That's a great prediction. Prediction.
Yeah. So everyone who's a liquor store owner right now is like high-fiving themselves because they just like the coolest kid in the group, but it's true.
But they already are. Like everybody already hits them up now anyways. I don't know how that would be any different in 2019, but
going to get
they already have
a lot more interesting.
Yeah.
The cynical comes out.
I'm not being cynical. I'm being truthful. Like,
pretty sure that was cynical.
How many liquor store owners are sitting around saying, "Man, I wish some guys would just come up and chat with me about bourbon." I really wish some guys would get on our allocated bourbon list. They come in and they buy a bottle of Schlitz malt liquor and they leave. And
no, it's not that. But so you even as a consumer, would you rather have Denny on speed dial on your phone that you can text anytime? Would you rather have a liquor store owner?
Denny. Denny.
Really? All right. So I doubt that if someone gave you the choice, you'd be like, oh, that guy is going to.
I already have 3 liquor store owners on my cell phone. I don't have Denny. You asked me which I'd rather have. Now I'd rather have Denny.
Oh man. There was some other good comments in here that 2019 will still not be the year of a rye release for Parker's Heritage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
It's too simple. It's like,
it seems to fit all too well to actually do it. Just,
Fred, do they have the rye for it? Why don't they do it? Have you ever asked them?
Yeah, well, so they have Rittenhouse, so absolutely they have the rye. And they were distilling their rye with Brown-Forman for a long time. That contract got cut off in, I think, 2013, and so now they're distilling their rye again.
Oh, so they weren't doing it for a while?
Well, that whole
because of the fire,
whole burning the fire with their distillery down, they kind of had to contract some of their stuff out, and the rye was the big one that was contracted out to Brown-Forman.
Gotcha.
My 2019 prediction is Pursuit Series will be bought by Smirnoff, and we will be in the Owl Creek Park with a pyramid of me and Kenny.
And animatronic Kenny and Ryan are just like waving to everyone as the train goes by.
That's right.
I think there should be a big Roundtable prediction. Like Roundtable is going to get bought up by Bravo TV. I don't know what can we get a bigger audience of going on for the Roundtable. No, I think there's as we just continue to see the growth, new brands pop up, new bottles pop up, and just really the enthusiasm for bourbon in general pop up. The amount of people you see coming in from wine and beer and everywhere else, just because it is kind of that, I don't want to say new kid on the block, but it's definitely kind of, it's on the upward trend. You just see more and more opportunities with it, the popularity. So
I think there's going to be another, like New Riff kind of made some waves this year. I think there's going to be another New Riff next year coming out with something.
Oh, they'll always do
somebody for sure.
Wilderness Trail made, I would say, made equal waves to New Riff. They did really well. If I were to, this has been a hard year for me to kind of like study trends as I've done in years past because I've been so busy. But there's one trend that I think is going to hit hard next year, and that is the closure of craft distillers that did not do well. And we've already started to see some bankruptcies and some closures. Death Door in Wisconsin, which was a prominent gin distiller, is filing for bankruptcy. And that, if you would have asked me, I would be like, no way, they're not filing for bankruptcy because they're hugely popular. And so I think we're about to see that, and I think that we're going to see the absence of Dave Pickerel really be felt. I don't think people realize how much that guy touched. And he served this community. He served this industry, this community, with every bit of his life, and I think it ended up costing his life. And so, I hate to say that, but there's not another Dave Pickerel in this world.
Yeah, especially even from just a whistle pig perspective. You think about, who I kind of know the owner's name, but Dave Pickerel was who I would think about when I think about whistle pig. So that's a huge gap for sure. So
definitely,
yeah.
Would be a nice prediction. I think this is going to come true. One last one. I think we may do another live taping potentially of the Bourbon Community Roundtable.
Yeah,
and we'll be able to get Fred there this time. And Carrie, since you will be the newest person joining us live, you're gonna have to top the bottle that Brian brought to the tapings.
No pressure, but he brought a 33 Old Taylor.
I believe it was a 1917.
Yeah,
it was 17 years old. So
you know what
barreled in 17, bottled in 33.
I have Blood Oath Pact 1.
No wonder you're cynical.
All right.
Meeting you guys. I do. It'll be a lot of fun.
Great. So let's go ahead. Let's wrap it up. There's a few other predictions that came in through the chat. Chris Wiseman said Bourbon of the Year at San Francisco is not going to be made in Kentucky.
Oh,
I know. Crazy.
wow.
Matt Cusick said he probably guesses that there's going to be at least another celebrity that's going to launch some sort of not good whiskey. That's the best way I could probably put that
there's
one
actually,
out there.
I already know of one coming. It's oh man.
Don't say Ryan Kenny.
All right, give us a hint, Fred. Give us a. Is it musician or actor?
Musician in the rap community.
Oh, if Ludacris comes out with a bourbon because he's already got Conjure, I'm in.
It's totally Nelly, isn't it? I love Nelly.
Luda.
Yeah.
Whatever. I get down on some 90s rap. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Into 2000s for sure.
Montel Jordan bringing out.
But
Yeah.
Drake's the only other rapper I know with whiskey right now, right?
I don't know if you call that a whiskey. That
Was it flavored?
Yeah, it's flavored. Well, it's not flavored in by technicality, but it's flavored by Canadian standards.
I'd love to interview Trick Daddy on, bourbon.
I don't even know who the fuck Trick Daddy is.
You know who Trick Daddy is? Oh man, you gotta follow him on Instagram. You get his You didn't listen to Take It to the House? Are you kidding me, Frick?
How does it go?
Trick I'm not going to embarrass myself like that.
No, the last great,
Take It to the House.
the last great rapper was Tupac, and that was kind of the
Fred, come on, dude. It's like 25 years ago, man.
Tupac.
We've evolved since then.
Yeah, I know. Get
Tupac,
Get out.
Resurrection with the bourbon brand.
Tupac. Come on, man.
All right. We've overshot this roundtable by a lot longer than I thought we were going to go, but it's always good. And I'm sure people are going to really dig a lot of the conversation too, because, there was, for all of us here, we had a great 2018. We're all starting to try to figure out what does 2019 look like for us as well, and figure out how to kind of carve those paths and start making those moves. So again, congratulations to everybody that's sitting here. It's been a pleasurable 2018 to spend with all of you. We're all happy to see where everybody's kind of driving and working towards as well. And thank you everybody for else that's listening. I hope you had a successful 2018 as well, and hopefully it pours back into 2019. But before we sign off, I want to let everybody kind of go around the horn one more time and talk about where they blog at as usual. So Jordan, start with you.
Normal exit as normal.
Sure.
Yeah, exit as normal.
Exit as normal. So this is Jordan, one of the three guys from BreakingBourbon.com. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Patreon at Breaking Bourbon. Sign up for our newsletter. And also we basically do a near daily calendar update release. So again, if you're looking for last minute Christmas gifts, find out what's being released in this month or months past.
All right. And we're still doing this because I think everybody's loving all this stuff in the chat about 90s rap. So you got to say who your favorite 90s or 2000s rap artists are.
I got to be honest. I'm not a huge rap fan.
Oh,
I appreciate it, but I just don't I'll listen to rap nonstop, but I just don't have a favorite
What's your
artist.
music? What's your fave?
I like a lot of top stuff, a lot of jam bands, on a good Sunday night. Honest to God, on a good Sunday night with a bourbon, I still tune into WFPK and listen to their banjo show. So
wow,
that's the nerdiest thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
check out a band called Still Wheels.
What was that, friend?
Still Wheels. Check out a band called Still Wheels.
Okay, I will.
I did a tasting with them. I think they're the most talented band in bluegrass, but I don't know why they haven't taken off, but they're amazing.
Okay.
I don't know why they're not good yet, but
bluegrass is a hard genre to break in.
Oh my! You know what? So when we were down for Bourbon and Beyond, I threw it on when Nick was there. The radio show's on, and he looked. I'm like, "Oh, you mind if I put it on?" He goes, "No." 5 minutes later, he's like, "What the hell are we listening to?"
I was this close to meeting Del McCoury.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah. He's a god.
Nice.
But then you didn't. So let's go on.
Wow. Dick move of the night.
All right, Blake, you go next. And don't forget your favorite rapper.
All right. I am Blake from Bourbonr.com. Once again, all the social medias, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, BOURBONR. This list is going to be long. 90s rap is kind of where I lived for a long time in my AAU basketball team. So This wasn't quite 90s, but Southern hip hop was really big here in Florida. So Trick Daddy, throwing some Crime Mob every now and then, few others like that. Biggie was in there for sure. Like 6th grade middle school basketball game definitely had Life After Death playing. So that was big
on repeat.
Yeah. All right, I'm done.
Carrie, what about you?
Hey, this is Carrie.
Are you a 3-6 Mafia person?
No, I'm actually God. Don't mess with my 90s rap. All right. In 95, Montel Jordan was the best. But in 96, I'm from Atlanta, and Outkast was the best.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Outkast was great.
So, it was dope.
Andre 3000 is still one of the top.
No, they were awesome, man. Listen to any of that stuff nowadays, and you're like, wow, this is really good shit that was ahead of time. But I am a team of one of Suburbia.com that's going to write a lot of stuff in 2019. And as usual, I love hanging with you guys. I'm very proud of all the stuff you guys have accomplished. Fred, it's been nice to actually get to know you this year. Sometimes. And, as usual, enjoy hanging with you guys and keeping me on this podcast. And definitely looking forward to good things next year.
And so Fred, we already know Fred's Tupac. So Ryan, what about you?
Well, you said 3-6 Mafia, but I really like the Hot Boys.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if that was 90s or early 2000s.
That was early 2000s, but Wayne, BG,
well, they were
Turk.
90s.
Yeah.
Birdman.
Yeah. I mean, that was all them together. They jammed. But so I appreciate everybody coming on again. Obviously, this is our favorite thing to do, and I know it's a lot of time and effort on your all's part to put this together. And I want to do a challenge for everyone here and our audience for we're in the Christmas season, in the holidays. Being in this community, I feel blessed, and I'm sure many of you are blessed with more than enough. So I would challenge you to look to someone. This is supposed to be the most wonderful time of year. Look to someone that might not be having the most wonderful time of year and help them out. Look to someone to give them a helping hand this season, because that's what it's all about. Because we are so blessed, and I think we can just do a lot of good in the world with bourbon and everything. So that's my goal for everyone is let's use bourbon. Don't be cynical about it. Let's turn it into a positive. So
that's awesome. Can we also buy you a new T-shirt and a new hat?
Yeah. Speaking of being positive.
Yeah, I was going to say, guy just pours his heart out.
Yeah. No, you're a good man.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah,
we love you, Ryan. You're a good man.
Well, that's a great way to finish it, and please everybody do that, and also go out. And I don't know why anybody didn't mention Snoop Dogg or Wu-Tang, but
there's so many to choose from.
Oh, but I know I'm more of a Nelly.
I mentioned Snoop Dogg.
Oh, okay. He still puts on good shows at Vegas too. So if you're out there, go check that out.
I may not have said his name, but that's a hint.
Oh,
the No Limit people too.
I'll buy that. Yeah, Snoop Dogg was actually on No Limit for a little bit, wasn't he?
Switched labels for a while.
Yeah, after Death Row.
It's getting hot in here.
Man, right. we could kill some 90s rap trivia. That's for sure.
Yeah. No.
All right,
baby. Heavy metal.
So let's go ahead. Yeah, because I don't think we're going to see Nelly at Bourbon Beyond this year. So we'll have to. We'll
never know.
Okay.
I do know the artist, but no, I mean, you won't.
Don't tempt me, Fred. I will be on stage.
Didn't Nelly pee on people or something?
That was R. Kelly.
No, not Nelly. Yeah, that was R. Kelly.
He did worse than that, though.
No, Nelly, he may have punched a guy or two, but they deserved it.
He wears a Band-Aid,
All right, LL Cool J's. Let's go and call this out. So thank you, everybody, for that joined us tonight. Thank you, everybody that was on the comments. We almost eclipsed 100. I think we were at 96, something like that at one point. But it was fantastic to see everybody on the show tonight. Again, another great wrap up. We'll see everybody again probably this time in a year to do the same exact show. And we'll see if these predictions came true. But if not, you can catch us again here another 3 weeks on the next Roundtable. And of course, every Thursday morning with a new Bourbon Pursuit podcast release. Thank you so much for everybody that joined in. And we'll see everybody next week.